You're going to love this. Trust me, what you're seeing now is my normal state.
Welcome, I'm Spaghetti King, and this will be the Vampire Girl series. Vampire Girl is what she's usually called. And the fourth one that just came out, she's called Vampire Mistress. For that reason, I guess the fourth one is connected to this. It seems to be. It's just a little bit different in style to the rest of them, but nonetheless, this is something that Fawniva has been doing. I've known about Fawniva for a while. Having some milk right now myself. I am a milkman. I like my milk. But as for this series has been coming out for the last 2 weeks, and thought it was interesting. Fawniva was one of those ASMR artists who I discovered quite early, and then I kind of dropped because I felt she was like kind of too lewd, and I kind of came back, Well, let's have this series act as a test to see how that goes, right? So in the case of the first one, starts with you at this party. Maybe you're wearing a suit like I am, right? And you're at this party and you're all and I believe it's a mysterious girl asks you to dance, something like that. And basically she shows up and kind of announces herself to you. She greets you and basically tries to kind of, get entertainment out of you. She seems kind of like bored, and she's like, oh, well, will you dance, whatnot, do you like drinking wine, whatnot, these kind of basic exposition there. And eventually it goes on to, basically you have like food poisoning, is what happens. And you discover this early on, you say, oh, there's something hurting in my stomach, whatnot, and she's like, oh, well, that could mean many things. And then she deduces that you have food poisoning. And with this, it goes on to the second part where basically you're trying to excuse it. You're like, oh no, it's not really that bad, whatever. And you explain, basically, that you're waiting for your friends to show up at this party, and it's for like a birthday, so you like have to be there, you can't reschedule it, and all that. So she's like, okay, well, you have to be here, and you can't just do this some other time, celebrate some other time. Well, I have a trick that will help you, but it will hurt. And then basically she's all like, oh, I can't believe I'm doing this for a stranger and whatnot, and these kinds of things. And after that, she bites you on the neck. And I think there's around that time where the thumbnail picture of the video actually changes, where it goes from wants to dance to wants to drink. So this is like a vampire, which, was hyped up. It wasn't just stated to your face. It was, it had to be foreshadowed and eventually revealed to you, this truth. Which, I wasn't, I like it. I like it that, it's not just thrown in your face in the title, right? Spaghetti King wants to drink himself apparently right now too, right? And that was a fine reveal. You don't need to have like some groundbreaking, shocking, whatever truth revealed, but it was good. It was good the way it was done. It was good the way it was set up. And after that, though, you literally just wake up, I guess at her house or something. And she's like, oh, are you okay, whatnot, I had to bite you, whatnot, and you understand that she's like a vampire, and it's like, oh, did you turn me? And she's like, no, that's not how it works. And it ends with her going, well, if you like, being around me, I can give you my number, and, in exchange for, me helping you, me healing you from food poisoning. We can meet some other times, and I'll feed on you then. Whatever. That's the ending for the first one. So in regards to anything extra I have to say for the first one, I will say I think that the feeding section, the biting section, I think that was the best of any of them in this one. I think it had the best biting, vampire, drinking, whatever you call it, in this. I think it had the best sound effects. I think it had the best timing. There was even a part where you heard like a biting, like a crunch sound, and then she even goes like, she like exhales. And I thought that was like pretty good. I thought that was pretty effective sound work over there. So that was a good one. If I can talk about this like vampire character, what I would call a domestic vampire. I mean, we have a great variety of vampires in ASMR. And in this case, I think this is what you call a good domestic vampire, where she's not medieval, she's not like out of touch with technology, she's not like weird, or like her being like kind of like ancient in how long she's lived doesn't really have a great effect on like her perspective. She seems like a modern person, you know, and that's kind of how this character is, and I think that was established well in this, although it will be developed more in the future ones. So for now, that's what I have to say about the first one. Now the first one, yeah, the first one's good. I would say probably it's the weakest of all of them though, but as a setup for a multi-part series, which I didn't know it would be when I first watched it, it does that job very well, I will say that. So rating for the first one is audio 5 out of 5, wholesome rating 4 out of 5, overall rating 9 out of 10, ranking good. So, I'll say on that one. But overall, well constructed. Okay, so the second one, the vampire girl can't stay away from you. Yeah, that's what it was. This one is where you get more characterization for the vampire girl herself, and a lot of exposition. This one is the most plot-heavy of all of them. So it begins with her being like, oh, did you get my text and whatnot? Which, again, representative of her being, like, acclimated to modern technology and these things. And she's like, oh, well, we could have rescheduled the meeting to tomorrow or whatever. But that wasn't the case, so she eventually is just like, oh, I need you. You know, and she's like, bites you and drinks your blood again, you know. Vampire mode. And that goes. So it goes from that, and eventually it goes to the exposition about herself. She says that she was technically born in the 90s, but not these 90s. Maybe like the 1890s, 1790s, 1690s, 1590s, who knows? 1090s. The 90s in general, the Roman Empire, why not? Who knows? I don't. But, you know, whatever. I'll assume the 1890s. Whatever. You know, we want her to be as young as she can be, right? Keep it fair. But, you know, in this case, this is her backstory, and she says... She explains that, well, number one, she criticizes your sleeping. After the whole feeding section, she basically goes into this kind of doting mode, where she's like, oh, when do you sleep? Like 2, 3 a.m. in the morning? Oh, this is not good for you. Your bed sheets are all bad or whatever. Into this kind of mode, which is kind of nice because it gives a good contrast to her. You know, she explains that her temptation to feed on you is very exceptional, very unique, never been seen before. And I think there's another thing she even says where, like, vampires claim they shouldn't feed on, or something like that. I think there's some kind of mention of that, which I found strange, considering what she later brings up. But... after that, pretty much she compliments you for your resilience, you know, where most people who she feeds on become like dizzy and they can't stand and whatnot, but you are standing, you're fine, you're talking, everything, you're all fine with this. And it ends, well, she basically brings up as well, is there anything that you've desired that you can't have? A woman has her ways to give you these things, or something like that. I'm not really sure what it's about, because I don't really think it's really brought up that much again, but it's there. And then it ends with her being like, oh, I have a friend who called me who I have to... She's been having nightmares, so I have to help her. You know, but next time we meet, I'll ask you a question. That's how that ends, on this nice cliffhanger, which did hype me up at the time, because when it came out, I was like, oh, okay. It's like a multi-part thing, and you give me like a cliffhanger on this. Okay. You know, I'll take that. I'll take that. So, yeah, good ending to the second one. Basically characterizes you, kind of in this case, and her mainly, and establishes this dynamic between you, and I think it does a very good job in that. So I think the second one is the most impactful in that sense. Not sure if I think it's really the best one, but I would say it's the most loaded one. I would say that overall. So, rating for the second one is audio 5 out of 5, wholesome rating 3 out of 5, overall rating 10 out of 10, rank great. So that's rating for the second one. So the third one is vampire claims you as her own. So I guess she had not before. I guess you were in this transient relationship up until that point. But in the case of that one, this one I have really a different perspective of it when I read the transcript of it compared to actually watching it, because she kind of insults you, simply put. In the beginning of this, she's like, you know, oh, you're one of those dependent types. You just want to seek comfort as much as you can, you know, etc. You're kind of like, she basically calls you kind of like a weakling and whatnot. And she basically says that you will have to pay her to have her feed on you, not pay her in the fiscal sense. But, you know, if you want to feel comfort while she feeds on you, you know, you owe it to her, basically. Which is kind of a strange turnout, because she felt more doting and affectionate before, but now there's this kind of relation developing in that case, which is, I do like, because it's not like a vampire girlfriend, at least yet in this case. It's this like different like relationship that is there, which is that basically she wants you to like pay her back for her helping you initially, but she's also becoming kind of like addicted to your blood, so it's like this kind of like dynamic, which I find interesting, because it's usually not that complex. Usually it's like, oh, vampire girlfriend kind of thing, and it's like base affection. But this one, it's complicated. It's not that simple, you know, there's more to it. Which I like, you know, so in that case... Oh yeah, forgot that, because I got this right here. Which I found this to be an interesting line, again, this domestic concept. She brings up like, oh, maybe if you don't spend so much time partying with your friends and more time working, you know, you'd be better off. Which I found very funny, just as a remark, which is true, but it's like, you wouldn't expect to hear such a, I don't know, maybe it's like an okay boomer moment or something, but, you know what I mean? It's just kind of, I don't know, I didn't expect it. When that one came out, I was like, really, that's the criticism on that end. But you know, she's been living since the 1890s at least, so, you know, she's like a veteran in this stuff, and she's seen lazy boys, and, you know, you as a lazy boy, I guess she's not impressed with. You know, so with that as the case, it ends with her being like, the next time we meet, which I hope will be soon, I'll have a request, and if you fulfill it, I'll give you exactly what you want, is what she says. So, referring to this, I could give you whatever you want in the second part. Now the fourth part is in like a totally different setting from what I can see, so I'm not sure if your request was fulfilled, or what your request was, or what it was, but whatever it was, that was what was brought up, so that's what I can say. So that's the third one. And the third one I find interesting, as it is a criticism mostly of you, to be honest, the listener in this case. And I find that dynamic interesting, but overall, I find it to be less meaty than the second one, and less enjoyable. Maybe it's a matter of preference on me. Maybe I'm just not as much of a fan of this type of audio. But I will say, like, the fourth one is definitely my favorite, and I will go over that, mainly because the fourth one is comfort audio, to be honest. And we'll see. But in the case of the third one, the rating is audio 5 out of 5, wholesome rating 4 out of 5, overall rating 8 out of 10, rank great. Now, I rank that great, but I probably would rank it above the second one in certain ways. They're pretty neck and neck, but I said structurally the second one is better. But they're pretty close, so I'll say that. But the fourth one, which came out like today, when I'm recording this, seems to be in like a totally different setting. You know, and in this case, it's sleeping with your vampire mistress. And there's like an alternate title in the video itself, which is like laying on her chest or something like that, which is more apt to what it is. But this one, I don't know where it is. Like, I don't know where it is. Like, so number one, it starts with you being like fed by her, and this is like vampire mistress. That's different from like vampire girl. This is vampire mistress. So is this like a time skip? Is this a different context going on here? I'm not exactly sure. But in this case, she's like feeding you and feeding you food, and it's like, oh, you haven't touched your meal and whatnot, and you know, she basically explains that it's understandable that you feel like uncomfortable. You're in this like new situation. I believe she does mention that she's claimed you, but she also mentions herself as your mistress. So I presume this is like the relation that you've like established. You know, it's now she's your mistress. So I don't know if she also mentions that, like, yeah, vampires aren't as imaginative as you might think. We're not living in like high gothic castles or whatnot. So I don't know if this is her house, or if it's her vampire castle house, or if it's whatever it is. I don't know. I just don't know where the setting of this audio is. And I don't know the time span between the last audio and this one, because it seems to be like a different context. I don't know if it is, but I don't know. One point I should mention from the third audio, I believe, that I didn't mention is, she mentions on her drinking the blood. So, because all the vampire audios, they all have different vampire rules, so we have to go over the rules here. Now, she mentions that if you drink her blood, I don't believe it would have an effect. And the reason is because I guess none of her blood is her own. Basically, when she bites, it goes into her teeth, and then I presume flows into her veins, which means all her blood is foreign blood, or at least replaced from foreign sources. So most of her blood, or all of it, is foreign blood. And what that means is, if she feeds on your blood continuously, eventually it will be like adapted to her like main blood, and then eventually her soul blood, which means that she'll only be used to consuming and want to consume your blood. So this is kind of like the rules on that. So there's that element. So maybe like this one is, I don't know, past, and she's more used to consuming your blood anyway. But she says that even before that has transpired, she already only wants your blood anyway. You know, so this is already the case. And I don't know, because she was bringing up before that like she shouldn't like drink your blood or drink the blood of someone she claims. I don't know if it's for this reason, or maybe it's like you shouldn't be affectionate with someone's blood you drink or something. It's not exactly elaborated on in explicit detail. So I'm just saying what I know. But in the case of the fourth one, she says, "Oh, well, you're probably not used to this, and that's fine." And then she's like, "Oh, well, come lay on my chest." And then you do, and then it's basically a comfort audio, which makes it feel pretty different in tone to the rest. But you're laying on her chest, and she gives this very nice, like, speech or monologue, where she's like, "Oh, lay and feel the relaxation in your neck, in your arms, in your hands, in your thighs, in your shoulders, in your legs, and it's like, rest your neck, feel like, this complete relaxation." She goes over very, very, very nice with her statement in this. It's very good. And it's very relaxing. And honestly, this thing is so relaxing that literally after watching it, I felt like sleeping. I didn't sleep because I had to do this review, but I was like, ugh. I was like laying in bed, and I'm like, oh, this is some good stuff. So, you know, it goes from that, on that end. And, yeah, like, it goes from her with that monologue about your limbs and whatnot. She's like, oh, you know, breathe, each breath you let out is small, and slowly fainting, finally, I think is what she said. Something like that. It's kind of, this one was a little bit more quiet than the others. And finally sleep. The end. That's how it goes. Like, and finally sleep. It was kind of like weird how she said it, but she says something like that. But that's how it goes. And then you just fall asleep on her chest, I presume. Your vampire mistress, whatnot. Which, you know, again, because there's, oops, sorry, because there's like gaps in between like this scenario. I don't really know exactly the case, but I'll just say, okay, mistress, you're on good terms, you know, and now it's like wholesome chest pillow mode, cuddle mode. This is how it goes, and I'll say, if that's how it goes, then no problem with me. No problem with me. Good, fine, well earned a setup. Good. I have nothing to say. And to be honest, the fourth one is my favorite one, but it's the least heavy on plot. It's basically just built from this, and it's like a good comfort audio, and the comfort audio is like magnificent. That's really all I have to say about it, because I don't have much to add on the plot elements other than the elements that confuse me, which I already told you about. So that's what I have to say. So rating for the fourth one, audio 4 to 5, was a little bit more quiet. Wholesome rating 5 to 5. Overall rating 10 to 10. Rank legend. Just simply a great audio. With the context of the story or not. You can listen to the fourth one without having listened to any of the others and get just as good an effect out of it, I would say. Whereas 2 and 3, a little bit more plot heavy. Probably would prefer to have watched the first one prior. But I don't think I have much more to say. I think I pretty much summed it up in the summary. So the art is this girl with like pink hair, and she's got this real grin on her, and I think she has the vampire teeth too, and she's got what looks like a red dress or a red top she's got on, and the background changes between each audio, but it's the same girl, same image, and yeah, so that was fine. I will say, one thing that was weird, I don't know if it's changed, I posted a comment about it, but the transcript for the fourth video is in Spanish for some reason, so I did that one with no transcript. Kind of sucks for me, because transcripts are helpful to me, but yeah, I don't know what it is, I don't know why it's in Spanish, but it is, so whatever, but I'll leave it at that. So yeah, that was that video. Good series of videos, can recommend. Maybe if you conflate the blood drinking thing with doing some other things, some other kind of inappropriate business, maybe it would, I don't know, kind of deter you or something. I couldn't blame you if it was. I take it wholesome, but, you know, these themes kind of come up in vampire stuff a lot, so it is what it is. And in that case, it's probably a bit stronger than others, I'll admit that. It's kind of the reason I kind of dropped Fawniva a little bit back in the day, but now I'm reviewing ASMR, so it's kind of like, oh, well, you kind of have to, right? But, you know, this was great. This was great stuff, so I'll just leave it at that. So, with that said, thank you for watching. I'm Spaghetti King. I love you all, and farewell.